You already know this is criticism, self-criticism. Today we're going to dive into the Havara Agreement. As you can see right here, the Havara Agreement was a deal between Nazi Germany and Zionist organizations signed in 1933, allowing Jewish immigration to Palestine. It facilitated the transfer of about 50,000 Jews and some other assets to Palestine, while also increasing German exports to the region. So as you could see, Israel and Germany have been trading since 1933. So prior to the genocide that occurs in Germany, where people are put into concentration camps, there's already a clear collaboration between Zionists and these folks. I pulled up this short video. This person, Sims Books, wrote a book. She's gonna tell you a little bit about her book, and she's also gonna read some of the parts in her book. Let's check out this short clip.
Zionists and Nazis have always been buddy-buddy since the beginning of Nazis and Zionism. I'll read you a little more from my book. Genocide Bad, Notes on Palestine, Jewish History, and Collective Liberation, coming in March from Interlink Press, the only Palestinian-owned publisher in the U.S. Zionists were on strikingly good terms with the Nazi Party throughout the 1930s. Historian Joseph Mossad details the extent of their collaboration. In 1935, the German Zionist branch was the only political force that supported the Nazi Nuremberg laws in the country, and was the only party still allowed to publish its own newspaper, the Rundschau, until after Kristallnacht in 1938. Nazi officials would visit Palestine as guests of the Zionists in 1934 and in 1937. So yeah, basically, as the Nazi Party takes power in Germany, Zionists were like the pick-me Jews, being like, we agree that Jews should get out of Germany. We're going to help you do that. And here's how. Back to the book. In 1933, Zionists struck a deal with Nazi Germany called the Havara Agreement. The Nazi Party at this time was facing a global Jewish-led boycott of its goods, one that had cut German exports to the U.S. by over 70% and was a significant concern for the Nazi Party leadership. The source I cite there, you can see there are memos within the Nazi Party talking about the, economic fears about the impact of the Jewish boycott. The Havara Agreement broke this boycott, allowing German Jews seeking to flee the Nazi regime to move to Palestine, provided that they first purchase essential goods manufactured in Germany and had them shipped to Palestine in advance of their departure. By 1939, 100...
So not only were they helping them relocate, but they were also giving them the opportunity to take a lot of things with them, to another country, essentially.
5 million marks worth of German goods were imported to Palestine under this program. In today's US dollars, that's close to $800 million of Jewish wealth that was transferred into the Nazi-controlled German economy by the Havara.
I believe Anne Frank was denied. I believe they petitioned, her family petitioned to come to the United States. It says here, while Anne Frank's family did attempt to immigrate to the United States, they were ultimately unsuccessful due to bureaucratic hurdles and the onset of World War II. So you're fighting Nazism, and this person's asking for a refugee status, and apparently you're too busy. You can't give this person asylum because you're too busy fighting a war that's actually supposedly to kill her. So the United States pretty much denied Anne Frank. According to this, they pretty much denied Anne Frank the right to come here. Yeah, that's crazy. Let's see what Sims Kern has to say.
Agreement. Now here come all the Zionists in the comments ready to argue with me that the Havara Agreement was a necessary evil. I've got an answer for you. Nowadays, Zionists justify Havara and the breaking of the Jewish boycott as a necessary evil motivated purely by a desire to help German Jews escape Hitler's clutches. But as Mossad points out, the idea that Zionists were so concerned with the fate of German Jews does not square with the facts that during Nazi rule, Jews from Britain and the United States were given priority by the Zionists over German Jews for immigration to Palestine. Indeed, 2/3 of German...
So the United States was able to file visas for Jews living in the United States that were not under immediate threat of genocide. They were able to process that, but they were not able to process a visa for a German young woman and her family that were in Germany during a very difficult time. That's very telling.
German Jewish applicants to immigrate to Palestine were turned down by the Zionists, end quote. Granted, Zionists in Palestine could not have accepted everyone, even if they wanted to, as Palestine was still under the British mandate. Britain set quotas for immigration that became severely limited after 1936, when Britain sought to quell tensions between the influx of recently arrived Jewish European immigrants and Palestinians. However, throughout the 1930s, Zionists gave thousands of these limited slots away to applicants from the US and the UK. Those Western Jews were not in immediate danger of anti-Semitic violence the way Jews in Nazi Germany were. But they better met the Zionist criteria of young, able-bodied, Hebrew-speaking, and independently wealthy applicants, right? So everyone in the 1930s knows what the Nazi Party is up to and threatening Jews with in Germany. And in Palestine, the Brits say to the Zionists, okay, you can allow some Jews to enter, and you guys are in charge of picking who you want to come. And the Zionists in Palestine give away thousands of slots to Jews from the UK and the US who aren't in any danger of violence if they were young and Hebrew speaking and wealthy and better met those criteria, leaving the German Jews to twist in the wind, right? Okay, back to the book. Do many nation states to this day employ classist, eugenicist, and white supremacist immigration requirements? Of course. In 2018, Trump notoriously questioned why the U.S. should accept immigrants from shithole countries in Africa as he pursued policies of closing U.S. borders to anyone from the global south. Immigration policies the Democrats under Joe Biden continue. So it's not surprising that...
So it's very telling because when immigrants come from Mexico and El Salvador and Guatemala, many people in the right wing, in the conservative atmosphere, Republican, red pill, whatever you want to call those, MAGAs or whatever you want to call them, many of them have a very big issue with immigrants coming here. But a lot of those same people, they're very willing to support Israel and people going to Israel and getting free land. But when you tell those people, well, what about giving the Native Americans some of their land back here? They're completely against it. So that's how you know this ideology they have is really racist. Zionism, Nazism, it's all the same.
Early Zionists had racist, classist, eugenicist priorities when it came to immigration as well. But these features prove that they were more motivated by those concerns than by a desire to save all their Jewish brethren from the threat of Nazism. From there, I go on in the chapters to explain how Zionists scheme to destroy Jewish communities and safety in many different countries throughout the Middle East. Writing this book. So let me just address that real quick. I was asked to write this book by Hannah Mushabek of the Mushabek family, which owns Interlink Books, the only Palestinian-owned publisher in the U.S. The whole book was Hannah's idea, and it was an honor to be asked to write it. But from the moment I wrote it, I knew that eventually this charge would come up that I was trying to grift off of Palestinians. Hannah also said in her first email to me, it was very important to me that they pay me industry standard royalties. Writing a book is labor. I've been working every spare minute on this book for 5 months now. Every spare second I've been working. 10% to the Middle East Children's Alliance, Nadim Bawalsa, the associate editor of the Journal of Palestine Studies. I don't think that these preeminent, globally recognized Palestinian scholars would have invested in this book if I was a grifter. That's frankly insulting to them. It's insulting to the Mushabek. Make a lot of money off of publishing. $1,000 after taxes. And that's going to be for 5 months of labor. Prevent people from stopping the book for that reason. For every book.
I don't know about all that. I don't really care about that. But that was so as you can see here, Anne Frank gets denied a visa to come to the United States. The Nazis and the Zionists signed an agreement, the Havara Agreement. This is a clear example of why people need to know what they're talking about, essentially, when making claims such as, Muslims are anti-Semitic, or they don't appreciate the Jewish community, or they have some sort of racist tendency to them. The people that are treated the most racist today in this world today are I I don't even want to say it because I don't want to sound messed up, but it's definitely not Jewish white passing people. The people treated the worst in my experience has been black women are treated very bad in this society. Black and Native American women are some of the people in today's society that are treated the worst, and that needs to stop. Obviously, that needs to stop. Um, Society is really quick to judge people right now. Social media, a lot of these podcasters with their Christian evangelical grifting, they cause a lot of harm. You know, in a previous video of mine, I show you a conservative Republican voter that's on his podcast speaking about a woman with 3 kids and her children. And you know what? It takes a village. It takes a village. Um, Regardless of that woman's circumstances, as men, we should not be talking like that about women. Um, we can't be judging people. We can't judge Muslims. This problem right now with Palestine that these Jewish Zionists are creating, you know, is a problem that of their of their upbringing, their grooming into this worldview of being the chosen ones. Um, Myself, I follow the Native American tradition. We have a saying called all my relations. I'm related to everything living in this world, even if it's just a plant on the ground. I'm related to everything, so I have to show respect. But these people, these scientists, they're completely disconnected. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment, drop a like. This is criticism, self-criticism. If you got a criticism of me, if you don't like the way I'm doing some of this, let me know. Tap in. You already know.